We as people try so desperately to fit in. We so badly want to be accepted by friends, by colleagues, by family, by society at large that we ultimately lose ourselves along the way. That's because we end up compromising our own values, our beliefs, our thoughts. We ignore our intuition, and ultimately we do this just so we can maybe fit in with the wider world. But something I've realized the older I've gotten is that nobody really cares. Everybody is so caught up in their own little bubble that they don't care what you believe in. They don't really care what you do. They don't really care how you dress. Maybe they'll make a comment about something offhandedly, but ultimately they are not losing sleep about it. And oftentimes we end up getting caught in our own heads way too much, over-analyzing, over-assessing the situation, thinking that other people are paying us more attention than what they really are. Now look, maybe you disagree. Maybe you have people in your life who are always judging you, people who are always making nasty comments, people who are always telling you what to believe in or how you should change or why you should change. And okay, I get it. We all have at least a few people within our lives who do take that role, whether they intend to or not. And some of these people, they mean well, they want you to do well, they actually care for you. And some of them, well, they really don't care. They're just people who are insecure within themselves. And oftentimes, the people who do care for you, the people who do love you, they will let you do your own thing. They will appreciate you and care for you no matter what you believe in, what you do, how you act, etc., etc. We're within moral and legal boundaries, of course. But what I've realized is that a lot of the people who will talk shit, who will try to say the path you're on is wrong, the people who will try to put you down, those are people who are so insecure within themselves. Those are the same sorts of people who have also compromised their own values and beliefs. They have strayed so far away from the path they wanted to follow that they don't want to see anybody else forging their own way. So these people who will try to put you down and will try to get you to change your ways and talk badly about you, oftentimes they're people who are living out this fake persona. They have strayed so far away from the life that they said they were going to live that they don't want to see you or anybody else who's trying to live authentically succeed in manners or in ways that are even better than them. It's a sad thing, but ultimately this is how things are in the modern world. And it's also interesting because I think more people than ever before in human history have the accessibility and the means to live authentically in accordance with what they believe to be true and in accordance with what they really want to do. This is because of the internet. We have access to all this information. We have access to people, access to opportunities that our ancestors simply never had. And yet, many people will still go about living the same monotonous, repetitive existence, doing things that make them feel comfortable and make them fit in with the populace rather than actually pursuing what is deeply meaningful to them. Maybe it's because we're so worried about fitting in, or because we don't question the values that we're brought up to believe to be true. We're spoon-fed ideas about the world and ideas about religion and politics and philosophy from our caretakers from a very young age. But many people never examine these things for themselves as they get older. And that's why I think many people end up feeling lost and even resentful and bitter towards those who do want to carve out their own path. This is something that Carl Jung talked a lot about. He came up with the idea of the persona. The persona is essentially the social mask that we wear when out in public. It is how we want others to perceive us for reasons that would make us be seen as being socially appropriate, socially acceptable, etc. And this persona is simply a small part of ourselves, or at least it should be just a small part of ourselves. But what Carl Jung wrote about was that many people never get to the root of their true self. They never examine their deeply held beliefs and values and get clear on the goals they actually want to achieve within this life. And because of that, they subconsciously allow the persona, that social mask, to become who they really are, even though it's not really who they are. They allow the persona to to essentially bleed into all other aspects of their personality. Now, don't get me wrong, having a persona is actually very important. You need to have that as a part of your personality in order to essentially engage with other people in a sociable way that they can understand and accept. We are social creatures, so if we can't do things that allow us to socialize with other people appropriately, then we will be outcasted. And yeah, while I don't think you should compromise your beliefs and values in order to fit in, there is a very important aspect of fitting in, and that's something that takes place at the biological level. That's simply what we need as humans. We need to be a part of a group. The problem is when we allow the persona to dominate our entire personality, and we live out and express that mask of sorts in all areas of our life, simply because we don't examine our true values and beliefs. We don't live in accordance with what we believe to be true. And for a few days, that can be okay, but as the weeks pass and the months pass and years pass, and you're living essentially only portraying that social mask, that persona to the world in all your situations, then you will lose yourself along the way. You do become bitter, you do become resentful, you do become the person who puts down other people for trying to live in accordance with what they believe to be their highest version of the truth. And what happens to the people who forget that persona is just a social mask is that they fall into groupthink. You can consider some examples like tribal politics, think extreme ideologies. You get the point. We fall into these echo chambers, mainly online, of people who are validating what you believe to be true and putting down the ideas and opinions of other people. And because the algorithm is so immersive and because we so desperately want to fit in with other people, we will neglect all other perspectives, we will neglect all other ideas, and we'll become so deeply entrenched within this fake persona and just let it take over our entire personality completely. From there, it's very hard to climb your way out, because at this point you feel accepted by a group, you feel like you're right, your opinions and ideas are validated. These are deeply held biological needs within every person. So this is where things can get very murky. This to me is why it's so important to truly examine and become aware of and understand who you are at the deep psychological level. All right? When I started becoming aware of these things 3 or 4 years ago, at that point in my life, I was very attached to certain ideologies, political, religious, social, you get the point. And when I realized that in order to understand who I really was, I needed to completely cut ties with these things, at least temporarily. And in doing so, that allowed me to determine, okay, is this set of beliefs serving me or is it holding me back? Or is this group of people benefiting my life or am I staying in place? And while it was very difficult to cut ties temporarily with many of these things, it allowed me to determine what was best for me and what was not helpful at all. So some of the things I used to believe in, I cut off completely. I stopped believing in them because they weren't serving me. And some of the others, I said, okay, well, this is useful, this has utility, this is benefiting my life and the lives of others around me in some way, shape, or form, so I can continue with that belief. And from there, it's what you'll begin to realize is that group identification feels great because, yeah, as I said, we need to fit in and feel accepted by others, but you can go about having a certain set of beliefs or deeply held values without attaching your sense of self to those beliefs or values. That to me is instrumental because few people actually have the ability to do that. And look, going back to the point I made before about how nobody really cares and you can just be who you want to be, it's true because we live in this hyper-polarized society. We have people on the left, people on the right. We have people believing in this, people believing in that. Those are the expressed beliefs of people, especially online, that get the most attention. And many people will default to putting themselves in one group or the other. We subconsciously box ourselves into a set of beliefs just to feel accepted. But what I will say is that in truly embodying your authentic beliefs and values and going about life in ways that maybe have a little bit of this perspective and a little bit of this perspective, people really appreciate that. People admire that. People are, in a very strange way, envious of that. And there's this unique sort of attraction to people who are just going with the flow. People who are living in accordance with their own wavelength, you could say. We feel so deeply attracted to these people because they're like renegades of sorts. They don't need the social approval of other people to fit in. They're just doing what they want, believing in what they want, saying what they want, going wherever they want, and living life on their terms. Now, this isn't to say that you should break the law or do anything crazy like that, but what you'll begin to realize as you truly pick apart your own values and beliefs and step away from the current echo chambers you might find yourself in is that more people will begin gravitating towards you because they can appreciate that authenticity that is coming through you with everything you say and do. And this right here is such a powerful thing because many people will feel inspired. They'll feel obligated to do the same for themselves because they'll realize that maybe they've spent many months or years living out this version of a life that they never really chose. So, yeah, all this is to say that if you believe in something that's contrary to what most people believe in, fine. If you have a certain skill set that you've never really shown because you're afraid of what other people will think, fine. But you gotta put yourself out there. You gotta make it known. Because in this world, more people than not seem to be copycats. But I do think that we all have some part of us, whether that's from our biology or our life experiences or sheer luck of the universe, that does set us apart, something that does make us different. The thing is, nobody will know about that until you willingly put yourself out there and do whatever that thing is or say whatever that thing is. Because the fear we experience of social rejection, yeah, it's a valid fear. But oftentimes we suffer more in imagination than what we do in reality. So you'd be very surprised as to how other people would react to the things you say and do if you are authentically expressing yourself. So yeah, hope this makes sense. Hope you enjoy this. Hope it inspires you to do things that are maybe a little beyond your comfort zone. And I'll speak to you soon. Take care.